Welcome to Surviving Schizophrenia with Steven. My name is Steven. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I have schizophrenia, but I haven't had psychosis for many years. Let me tell you how it's been possible for me. So, I fell ill when I was 12 years old. This was back in 2012. And I went from being a relatively normal kid to very psychotic pretty rapidly. I went from being straight A student to believing in the Catholic religion, to all of a sudden, very quickly, developing serious headaches that developed into, as well, delusions of a war of the gods of heaven and hell. I believed I was an integral part of this war. I believed in all of these horrible things that were happening and going to happen in the world through this war of the gods of heaven and hell. I was completely out of touch with reality and had lost my mind. But pretty early on, my parents figured out something was going wrong, and they got me the help I needed. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks at the UCLA Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital. That was the beginning of my recovery, because that was when they put me on one of the medications I'm still on to this day, Clozapine. Well, it was a little after, I guess, but that's when they recommended, the doctors and psychiatrists, to my parents, that I be put on Clozapine. And while the psychosis still hadn't lifted by that point, and I was not getting much better, that was the beginning of my recovery. And so, about 2 years passed, from about when I was about 12 to about 14. I was still not doing much at all. I was at home most of the time. I was reading a bit. I was playing a lot of video games, so I'll get to in a second as to why that's important. And I was actually taking my medication. That was a big thing that I did, was taking my medication, because had I not taken my medication, I never would have recovered. I would say, to the point where I am today, but no, I just never would have recovered. The medication saved my life, and the doctors that prescribed it, in turn, saved my life. And because I took that medication over time, over years, I began to recover. And from 12 to 14 or so, I was psychotic, but since 14, those psychosis was lifting. And I was starting to get back to my normal life. And I mentioned I was playing a lot of video games. And so reading early on, and then I stopped for a while, but I'm getting back to it now, actually. And video games, though, in particular, as well as watching like comedy TV shows. That's how I coped. Those are my coping strategies that I implemented at the time and still do to this day. Because I was able to play a video game, I wasn't having to think about my current state of mind and reality, or a psychosis as it might be. I was able to explore an open world where I could be the hero and save the world from dragons, right? I could be a kid again. Well, I was a kid at this point, but speaking from now, be a kid again, play Pokemon, and live in this fantastic world where I can catch them all and hunt for shiny Pokemon and live a carefree life. Or I could build a city and lead it to greatness, and not lead it, build a city and expand it, where most of my worries were, oh no, there's a fire in some part of my city. I gotta make sure I can get the fire department there. Or I could lead a civilization to greatness and be the hero, right? All of that kept my mind off what was really happening with me. And in part, helped me recover, because if I was so focused on my schizophrenia, my psychotic delusions, my hallucinations that I had at the time, I would have just been way worse than how it was, where I was able to escape from that into video games or books or comedy TV shows, which are just lighthearted and fun. So, 12 to 14, I think I went back to. Oh, so I should mention, when I fell ill very rapidly, I fell in psychosis and I stopped going to school. This was in 6th grade. And I believe sometime after, when I began to recover, I had gone back to school, same school, a few times, but it did not work out. I was not well enough, and this was not good. And I lost touch with most of my friends, pretty much all. And what also kept me more social and kept my mind more, sorry, right, kept my mind able to focus on, kept my mind more socially, what's the right word? It kept my mind social was that I still was close with my cousins in particular and my family. And so while I was shut in and self isolating due to psychosis and later on due to just stress and anxiety and depression, stress and anxiety, well, I'd say depression would do that too, actually, yeah. I still hung out with my cousins. My cousins are on my mom's side, the ones that live closer. That's where I spent a lot of time with when I was ill. They're close in age to me, and they would come over, and I would go visit them, and I could engage with them and talk about the games I was playing, play games with them, because really that was my life at that point. And they helped me be social. They helped comfort me and just be there for me, and that was super helpful. To have my cousins there to do that for me. I could look forward to them coming over. I could hang out with them and have a good time because we've been close since I was born, really. But when I felt ill, they were there for me. And having that support system, and my parents, of course, as well, having that support system was super important. And so those really are the three things that led to me not having psychosis anymore over time, because the psychosis lifted with the medication. And also, the doctors figured it out what was going on pretty quickly, considering most people don't develop schizophrenia when they're 12 years old. It happens, but it's not super common, and yeah, really, it was the right doctors and the right medication, me taking that medication and never stopping, changing as needed with the doctor's recommendations, but I never stopped taking my medication. I never pushed it away either. And then I found the right coping strategies that worked for me. For me, that's been gaming, watching comedy TV shows, and reading in particular. I'm getting back to reading now. I stopped for a while because it got kind of difficult to read and focus when I was very ill, but I'm actually getting back to it now. It's been great. It's also good for the mind to read. It's very helpful. And my family and having that support system and being social. And actually, I'll tell you a story now too about that. When I was, oh, I don't know how old I was then, but maybe eighth grade or so it would have been, even though I wasn't going to school really at that point. I did have a therapist come into the house, and I also had a teacher come in the house too. And they weren't trying to teach me much. They were trying to get me to use my brain and also get out a bit. And it was to the point where me getting out was near impossible. And we went, I remember, to Whole Foods, which was like a grocery store. And I remember we drove, I don't remember who drove, probably my dad, drove to Whole Foods. I remember getting out of the car in the parking lot. I remember going into Whole Foods, and then I kind of blacked out for a bit. And I remember I had a mental breakdown essentially in Whole Foods, and I remember just being overwhelmed and so stressed out. I couldn't handle it, and we had to get some water for me. We tried, maybe I can go back in again. It didn't work, and I had to go home. That's to the level that I was at of my schizophrenia, psychosis, depression, anxiety, all of that. And all of that has gotten so much better over the years. And I don't have psychosis anymore. I'm 26 now. I fell when I was 12. It's been 14 years and the better part of probably 10 since I've had psychosis. And that's not the case for everyone with schizophrenia by any means. But that's been the case for me, and I hope I've explained how that worked out for me well. And yeah, so it's been a long journey. It took a long time. But recovery and surviving schizophrenia is definitely possible. And while the life I'm living now is not the life I expected to have before, by any means, it is still a good life and a life worth living. And while I don't have psychosis, though, I do still struggle. I have severe depression, anxiety, and fatigue. And right now, actually, the fatigue is in the worst. It's been a while since I've been able to actually record a video like this. I recorded a few and it hasn't worked out. It's been a lot, I don't know if you do know, but I said It's been a lot, and it still is a lot, and it's still a struggle, but I don't have psychosis anymore, thankfully, because of the medication and my recovery and the right doctors that did the right things at the right time, the coping strategies that I developed, and my support system and family and cousins that have been there for me to keep me going. Yeah. So I think that's all I got for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I explained everything very well. And I hope you have a happy and healthy rest of your day. And before I go, if you want to see more content of mine, there should be a video or two or something on screen so you can click on and learn more. And one in particular, somewhere up here, is one I'm very proud of, a video I'm very proud of. Can the eyes reveal schizophrenia? And if you'd like to learn if the eyes can reveal schizophrenia, click there if you'd like to. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.